Hi, Grace family. Happy Tuesday to you. How do we respond? Well, one of the things that we use to respond to all that's going on with us is lament. Today, we're going to be at the end of Job chapter 2, Job the great lamenter. So, as Job was dealing with all the tragedy in his life, the end of Job chapter 2 says this. Now, when Job's three friends heard of all this evil that had come upon him, they came each from his own place. Eliphaz the Temanite, Bildad the Shuhite, and Zophar the Naamathite. I love those Old Testament names and words. They made an appointment together to come to show him sympathy and comfort him. And when they saw him from a distance, they did not recognize him. And they raised their voices and wept, and they tore their robes and sprinkled dust on their heads toward heaven. And they sat with him on the ground 7 days and 7 nights, and no one spoke a word to him, for they saw that his suffering was very great. That's the end of Job chapter 2. Job's three friends did a wonderful, wonderful thing. They saw the suffering that Job was going on, that was going on with Job, and what they did is, as Paul says in the book of Romans, that we rejoice with those who are rejoicing and we weep with those who are weeping. So what they did is they saw Job in his sorrow, and they also began to weep and be sorrowful with Job. So as they put dust on their heads and they tore their robes, they sat with Job 7 days and 7 nights and said not a thing. No pithy statements of comfort that had no meaning, no random words that really weren't grounded in reality, but just trying to bring some comfort to Job. All they did is what we all need when we greatly suffer, is we need people around us to be near us. They were silent. That's a great thing that Job's three friends did, but they didn't stay silent long enough, but they began to talk. Now, it's not bad that they spoke, but in their speaking, it's interestingly, as you go through Job chapter 3 on for many, many, many chapters, Job and his three friends get embroiled in a dialogue. Now, one of the things that happens is that they begin to talk about God. This is not lament. Lament is communication to God. What they ended up doing was theologizing. They ended up talking about God. Now, theology is not a bad thing. Talk about God is not a bad thing. The problem is you can get in the realm of only talking about God and then never talking to God. So when you only talk about God, God becomes reduced to a subject, right? He's no longer the personal God with whom we can have a relationship with and communicate with. He becomes a subject, reduced only to that. Maybe you know people in your lives where you're trying to evangelize, trying to speak the gospel to them, and they like talking about God. They find God intellectually stimulating and love to talk about possibilities and scenarios, philosophy, all those kinds of things, right? But when you get to the moment of talking about relationship with God, they shut down. This is talk about God, never talking to God. And this is what happens when Job's three friends come upon the scene. There's a lot of talk about God, but no talking to God. God is reduced to a subject, and he's no longer a being with whom we can have real dialogue, communication, and relationship with. What lament allows communication, dialogue, a relationship with God. See, when things go wrong, when things get difficult, when we're trying to figure out how do we respond to all these kinds of things, we can reduce God to a subject and try to figure him out. Or we can lament, which is we pour ourselves into relationship with God. And rather than talk about God, we talk to God. That is one of the blessings of lament, that in grief and in sorrow, in confusion and in anxiety, we go to God in prayer, lament, and talk to God rather than staying away and talking about God. The blessing of lament is the relationship we enjoy even in the midst of uncertainty, confusion, great fear and anxiety. What's about us? Gift is lament. Conversation to and with God. God bless you Tuesday. We'll talk to you on Friday.